And if they are, if this is right, how do we know that they are like real kunsa or pretend kunsa, something like that? All right, thank you.
Assalamualaikum. It's actually it's a really complicated topic. Our starting point is that we can spend the whole night on talking about the issues of gender within Islam, but Islam didn't create a third category of people, right? Islam created men and created women. Islam has never ever used sexual identity or sexual preference as an identifier, right? So there's no such thing as homosexuals traditionally in Islam. There are men and there are women, but there are some men who have inclinations of this sort, and there are some women who have the inclinations of this sort, but they're still men and they're still women, yeah? The critical issue is whether or not they act on those inclinations. So are there people who have, effeminate qualities? Yes, there are. There are, absolutely there are. It's what they then do, though, that is the issue, right? As far as people being an imam or not, provided the person is not actively sinning, then there's no prohibition on any male being an imam, right? There's no prohibition at all. But somebody who actively is living that lifestyle, this is my personal view only now, so I'm giving my view only. My understanding of deen is no, right? Is no. Somebody who is committing a sin knowingly and willingly against a very clear direction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I wouldn't consider them as somebody who I would pray behind or I would take my deen from, right? But somebody who has those inclinations but is holding them back, not acting on them, absolutely no issue at all, right? At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there were people who were put in place to look after the women, right? But these are people who were eunuchs, right? We haven't even gone into any of that stuff tonight, right? Because the whole purpose, the whole process of how a man is, castrated and all of those sort of things impacts hormonally on a whole range of things. And there's even a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where it was discovered that one of these individuals still had feelings for women. And so he was taken out of that environment, right? Really complex, right? I think just to keep it simple for tonight, because we haven't given the background of a lot of that, is man, women, that's it. That's what Allah has created. There are people who feel for others of the same sex, but don't act on those, and they are, alhamdulillah, they are of us, and we have no issues with that. They can lead the salah, they can do everything. But somebody who says it is permissible to do this, then no. Or somebody who openly lives a lifestyle this way, then my view is no. You wouldn't take them as an imam. Anybody else?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to ask a question about this standing of ICV on the issues of the safe school promotion, the one that the school was voluntarily sign up for this and then they got the funds from the government. And how should we, like you said that we only 2.2% of the population, so how should we react on this? Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
I'm sorry, sister, I can't give you what the ICV's position is, right? I can only give you what my view is and what I think we as a community should do. I don't speak on behalf of the ICV any longer, and I haven't seen them take issue anything on this topic at all. To my knowledge, the ICV has never even put out a position statement on the whole issue of LGBTI for our community. My view on the Safe Schools program and other programs like it, there's going to be others, right? There are going to be others. Is we are not going to be able to stop those programs, right? Right. The momentum in this society for this sort of thing is going to be beyond us to fight head on. So if you can't fight something head on, what do? You do guerrilla warfare, right? You do things from the sides, right? What we need to do is get ahead of the game. We know that in a secular society like Australia, they're going to try and normalise all of these issues. Not only normalise, but they're going to try and encourage younger and younger people who start to have these emotions, that it's not just okay, but that you need to explore them, right? Western society is built around convincing people that the individual has not just the right, but the obligation to do everything that will make them happy, right? We need to start teaching our children what the philosophical point of view from the Islamic perspective is. So we need to come up with programs where we can put in our Islamic schools and say, here's the programs around tolerance and diversity. We don't need your ones. Right? We're just, in fact, having this conversation with a couple of brothers after Salah. And for those students who are going into state schools, we need to start teaching this in our own madaris, our own weekend schools. Right? We need to start talking and teaching some of these topics in an environment where our younger people are going to feel safe to ask the questions and to get what we say is the proper knowledge, so that when they go into the school environment, they already are aware of what Islam says on these issues, and they can listen to it and be able to filter what is right from wrong. There are some things that we're just not going to be able to fight. You know, same-sex marriage, right? My personal view is that we shouldn't even worry about politically fighting same-sex marriage. Who cares? They're already living together anyway. Who cares if they're married or not? Astaghfirullah. Why do we make these issues that really aren't important for us? Let them fight the issue about legalising same-sex marriage. While they're doing that, let's build our own curriculum on sex and sexual identity so that we can teach our young people. That's my view. We've got plenty of educators in our community. We need them working on some of these issues, I think.
Thank you, Rod. Are there any more questions?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My question is regarding, you mentioned earlier about gay Muslims, and they exist apparently. What I wanted to know is, what's our best approach for them? You said it's best to hug them and say, and make them realize that the deen is clear cut, that homosexual is against the Sharia. But what if those people, they've got such a warped view, I guess, of the deen, that they're convinced that it is okay? What's our best method to unconvince them, I guess, and make them see that it is clear cut, that it is not allowed in the Sharia? There's no way that it can be allowed, or it will ever be allowed. So.
I think we'd be kidding ourselves if we didn't accept that there were people who identify as Muslims who also identify as homosexual or any one of these other categories. But there's a distinction that I draw between those who have those feelings, those inclinations, but accept the position of the deen and do their utmost to control and dampen those emotions, from those people like the ones who marched in the Mardi Gras last week. So there are those people who openly say, no, either Islam says this is okay, or, you know what, I don't care. Right? My view about those is I have more important people to worry about, with all due respect. I don't think it's an obligation on us, and I don't think we should put our limited resources into trying to convince somebody who is not going to accept the fundamental principles of the deen about this issue, right? My view is I would rather be putting our effort into our younger people who are at risk, right? Making sure our younger generations understand what the position of the deen is. And for the others, we make dua. We make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens their heart and brings them back onto the right path. We don't disengage. We don't dehumanize them. We don't disparage them. We say, you know, if that's your view, then, you know, may Allah grant you hidayah. Our view is no, Islam does not permit this. Anytime you want to have a conversation, you know, by all means, come sit down, we'll have a chat about it, right? But I'm not going to actively go out there trying to convince somebody who is firm that the deen allows this, when I've got younger kids who are generally struggling with this issue of sexuality and what is and what isn't permissible. I would rather be putting effort on saving those kids from harm than somebody who's already so far gone. and I'll just make dua for somebody like that, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, brings them back onto the path. That's my view.
Any more questions? Is there any more question? I just have one more question for me, brother. First of all, I actually like the simple theory that you put up. Like, actually, we're gonna start this from home, including the way we dress at home, including the way we dress our children, because this is one of the simple things that may change sexual orientation of our children. It looks simple, but it is something that if they are exposed to things that they're not supposed to see, if they see this every day, they will lose attraction to those things that they're not supposed to see. And this is one of the simple theory that we need to be, how's Islam put this in aura concept, such a big things at home that we need to observe and guard ourselves at home. And this is simple thing, but I really, these things are important that I'd like to emphasize. But brother, my question is, sometimes, dealing with this issue of homophobia, the things with homosexuality and the issue of gay and lesbian things, the things they expect us to be tolerant, but they are not tolerant to those who have a different opinion. This is the things that the hardest part to us, because even to those who say, we're not condemning them, we're not going to go out there and attacking people who chose their lifestyle, but even like to say that we are, we don't agree and then we don't adhere to this kind of opinion, for them that's enough to call us as, homophobic. And this is the hard part. Sometimes you are in the position where you have to express your opinion, you have to tell them the way you stand, and this is the hardest part, to deal with the situation. How, I just want to ask, and for your opinion, how we have to deal with this situation. Thank you, brother.
We have a fundamental obligation to prevent the munkar, to stop the evil, and join the good and stop the evil in Islam. That's our fundamental obligation. But again, it's about context, right? We're not even in a society that is neutral to Islam. We're in a society that is actively now hostile to Islam and to religion generally, right? So any strategy that tackles these issues head on is going to fail, right? It's just going to fail. So my advice is, when we are asked our opinion, we affirm. The Deen says X, Y, and Z. You don't have to accept it. I'm not asking you to accept what my religion says, but this is what my religion says, and this is my right. My right is to have my belief. I'm not treating you in any way different to I treat anybody else, but you don't have the right to force your belief on me, right? And then if people want to have the conversation, then let's have the conversation. Let's challenge some of their thinking. When they talk about, people should be free to, behave in whatever way makes them happy, provided they're not harming anybody else. Well, that's okay. But then what about polygamy? So why is it you say no to this, but yes to this? Clearly, the reason why I'm saying yes to it isn't for that reason then. There's other reasons, right? The reality is, we should just be firm on those issues. What is the Deen? Let's be really clear about what the Deen says, and the Deen says X, Y, and Z. We're not trying to convince you. What we're saying is that's what our position is. And in any other way, we deal with you as a normal person, right? The real problem is there is no objective basis upon which they make these moral decisions, right? And Allah tells us in the Quran, there are going to be people who take their desires as their ilah, as their God. And so the natural consequence of this is it's going to get worse and worse and worse. I don't know if there are any psychologists out there, but a psychologist will tell you, if you have desires and whims and you continue to satisfy those desires and whims, all that's going to happen is that you need a bigger and bigger hit. That's addiction, right? So somebody who is a drug addict or an alcohol addict, alcoholic, starts off with little bits. And because their body becomes used to it, they need bigger and bigger and bigger hits to get the satisfaction. This is no different. They're going to continue to go down this road because everything's going to become blasé. It's nothing exciting any longer, so they'll keep going. And where they're going to end up with, Allah on it. So we need to be really clear and firm on what the Deen says on these issues. And we engage whenever they ask us to. Whenever someone says, why is it? Well, okay, let's have the conversation. We'll explain what our position is and why we hold that position. But I'm not trying to convince you otherwise. You do what you want to do, and let me do what I want to do. Just don't force your views on me, and I'm not forcing mine on you. That's my view. I think we've got to be firm, but just draw that line and say, well, up to you what you do, and we'll do what we do.
Thank you, brother. Are there any more final questions? Otherwise, we conclude this discussion. Are there any more? Oh, Brother Yasin, the last one.
For the whole phase. So what step been taken from the other, the Christian and the Jew to fight this issue? Because they've been on the parliament for many years. And as you know, New Zealand been accepted. And they trying here to just pass it, but it didn't succeed.
So the brother's asking, what are the other religions doing about some of these issues? There isn't anybody from the press here, is there? Because I might say something a bit controversial. I'm going to separate the issues of the legalisation of same-sex marriages from the general issue of homosexuality. And the way in which the Christian community is dealing with this is very different to the way the Jewish community is dealing with it. The Christian faiths are mobilising to run a campaign against same-sex marriage. And they're looking for both the Jewish and the Muslim communities to support that campaign. Right? My personal view is that we have no involvement in that. My view is it's a losing battle, and if we are there, invariably the media is going to look at us and not the Christians. Right? So there's a phrase called cannon fodder. We're going to be used as cannon fodder. They're going to put us out the front. We're going to take the shots, and then they just walk away. Right? So my view is, in fact, we don't engage in this issue, which is going to come around the legalisation of same-sex marriages, because it doesn't matter. It really makes zero difference. It is legal now to live, astaghfirullah, in a same-sex relationship and do all that sort of stuff. Who cares if there's a bit of paper or not? Really, right? My view is leave them to have that fight, right? We've got other things to worry about. I don't think the Jewish community is going to get involved, or I think potentially the Jewish community may come out in favour. There's a growing trend amongst the Jewish community of pro same-sex and homosexuality, right? And this is where there's a real difference, and this is where I might get a little bit controversial. There's a real difference between the three faiths and their approach to the divine decree. The Bible and the Christians accept that the Bible is not the word of God. Right? The Bible was written 300-400 years after Jesus yesterday, and it's actually the words of his disciples 300 years later. So think about this. It's not even what Isa said, it's what his disciples said, recorded by other people, written down 300 years later. Right? And then it went through a whole process where the different Christians at the time all got together and agreed on a common position because they wanted to save themselves from the Romans. Right? So the Bible itself is not holy, it's not the word of God. So it's very easy in Christianity to change the words because they're the words of people. Right? So you say, oh no, actually what we think what we think God meant was this, so we'll change it. And it's been done numerous times in history. So the Bible it is now isn't the Bible that was written that the Christians believe in, let alone the one that we believe in. Right? The Jews take the complete opposite, if you like. So the Christians say it's all about the intent. We don't really care about the words, it's what God intends. So you can do whatever you like, you repent and God will forgive you. Right? That's what the Christian view is. The Jewish view is the exact opposite. They look, provided they think that they're complying with the black letter of the Torah, they will do anything they want, provided they can come up with a legal argument that complies with the black words in front of them. So they take this very legalistic view. And that's what's happening right now. They are finding ways to twist the meaning of words to come up with positions where they say homosexuality is okay. Right? Islam is always in the middle. We take both. We both take the word and the spirit and what Allah subhanahu intends. The words are very clear. The words are very clear. It's haram. And when the words are clear, that's it. You don't look at what the metaphorical meaning is, because the proof is there, right? So we're always in the middle. So my view is this is a losing battle for us to actually engage in. There's no upside for us as a community to get involved in this discussion. There really isn't. My personal view is that we keep right away from it and let them fight it out. And while they're doing that, we just continue to protect and work with our own community to limit the damage that is potentially going to come to us. That's my view.
Thank you, brother guys, and brother Yasin, and all the people who has contributed with the questions. I just want to make some points for discussion tonight. That in Islam, about this matter of gay and lesbian, transgender and bisexual things is a matter of black and white. It's halal and haram. What is halal is clear, and what is haram is clear. So it's not something, a gray area that we should, ajibaji and discuss anymore. It's clear matter. And it's also the point that brother said, like, this is a matter that's just gonna get worse. It's bad already, but it's not gonna get better in terms of being a Muslim community living in this society. So we have to be prepared with this, and we should only fight the battle that we can win. And that battle that we can win is to protect our children and our communities against the influence of this normalization of this bizarre, I shouldn't say it, but sexual orientation that we have here. Brother said, "Araita man ittakhadha ilahahu hawahu." Don't you see those who take the desire, the low desire is the Lord? This is the people they're looking at. I just discussed with these brothers here, but even though incest is not permitted, it's illegal in Australia, but even like the definition of the incest itself, from an Islamic perspective, is some of them what they're doing is already categorized as incest. That's how bad the situation we live. And it's just gonna get worse and worse. Even like things that beyond our imagination today, and you'll be surprised to find there's something that they accept as normal in the next few years. So inshallah, Allah will give us the strength and power to protect our children and to protect our communities, and inshallah we can win this battle if we can stick together and help each other in this matter, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, brother guys. Great appreciation for us. May Allah reward what you have, your effort, and also the brother who comes and support you in this matter. Inshallah, Allah will reward all of us. And for all of us here, may Allah guide us and make this discussion and question and answer as something that beneficial for all of us. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakallah.